All right, so we are now in class 3, exercise 6, class 3, exercise 6. And we've looked at code, we've looked at ways to hack the URLs and to hack the session. So code, hack the session, all kinds of things. Now we're going to look at things beyond the code or other code that we're using in our whole application stack. We have the operating system, then we have Apache, and then we have PHP, and then we have our software on top. So there's a whole stack of software that we're using, and we started with our software at the top. Now we're going to go one layer beyond that, one below that. We're going to look at PHP, then at Apache, to see if the PHP itself is secure or hardened or configured um, to be more secure, because PHP itself has a lot of knobs, has a lot of features, has a lot of flags, and a lot of capabilities that can be turned on and off. And we can make it more secure or less secure by how we configure it. Now, if you look at this OWASP PHP configuration cheat sheet, there's lots of recommendations out there, but um, here's one to start with, and we're going to talk about a couple of these features. You can go to this link here, and here's the configuration cheat sheet. There's cheat sheets for all kinds of uh, services and all kinds of software here, but here's some very quick settings that are recommended for error handling. Here's settings for general PHP settings. Um, here for file uploads, yes, allow file uploads, but don't allow files any bigger than 2 megabytes. Uh, max file uploads maybe 2 at a time or something like that. Um, here are some functions to disable. Perhaps you don't want people or your PHP code or people that use PHP on your system to run system commands or exec commands at the system level, at the operating system level, or to execute any command. Like imagine if they ran remove files and removed all the files, or change password, or other commands. So maybe you don't want to let them run these commands, or maybe you don't want them to run the PHP info function because you don't want to reveal by accident so much information um, to the public, right? So somebody can run PHP function, somebody can put a piece of code that says show the PHP info, and the whole PHP info gets broadcast to the whole world. We'll try to see if we can show this in a minute as a bonus. Things about session, things about memory limits. So for example, each thread, just keep them to no more than 50 megabytes. The post, don't let it be more than 20 megabytes. Stop after 60 seconds of executing something. If it hasn't finished in 60 seconds, stop it. Just time out, etc. So show the errors in HTML. Probably not a good idea to show the errors that happen in your code out in HTML on the front end, because somebody could see the errors and could see what's happening inside your code. And some of these settings, you might have different ones for development environment and a different set for the production environment. So that's essentially the theory of the book, or the place to start. We are going to try to look at this particular file. There's actually 2 versions of this file, and we're going to run it from the command line, and we're going to see what happens if we can include or not include code that's run from somewhere else. So this exercise is very similar to class 1 exercise 6, but so it's very similar. We're just going in a little bit more depth about some of these settings. So if you look at this file here, first I'm going to make a copy of it. So I made a note to make a copy, because if I screw it up, I'm not going to be very happy. Or if I delete it, I'm not going to be very happy. So I go here to my Kali Linux, and I say ls, and it's laf, that particular file. And oops, it does not come up. I figured out why it doesn't come up, because I have a different version of PHP, and this is looking for 7.3. So let's try this, /etc. PHP, and press tab. Oh, it's version 8.4. and it wants me to look inside of CLI and php.ini. CLI php.ini. And there's the file. I'm going to, if it's not, right now it's owned by Kali, but if it's not owned by Kali, you can say sudo chmod, sorry, chown, so change the ownership to Kali of this particular file here. Control C, and boom. Okay, that worked. And you can also make a copy, sudo cp that file to that file.bkup. So I made a backup of it. So now I can do ls-laf. Sorry, let's just do that. I just want all the files that are like that. So I have php.ini and php, the backup version. They're all in the CLI directory. There's also another version of these files in the web directory. There's or in the Apache directory, because you can run PHP from the command line, or you can run PHP in Apache. Command line, Apache, and there's two separate sets of configuration that govern how PHP is run in both situations. If I do -laf/etc php 84 Apache, then you will see that there's another file here that's slightly different size. This governs how Apache does this. I'm gonna, just for kicks and chisels, I'm gonna make a copy of that one as well. Just because I can. Okay. Let's see. Sudo cp. So I'm going to copy that, the Apache one, to the backup. And I'm going to make sudo chown Kali, the Apache version, both of those files. And then I'm going to see ls-laf that file, both of those files. And sure enough, both of those files in the Apache directory now are also backup, and I can edit them. Okay, so now let's get to editing. Long story on that, but let's get to editing. So I use this editor here. You can use Sublime, same idea. Open up a folder, and I come into the same directory. There's the Apache version. Let's see, how do you refresh? Yeah, so there's the backup and there's the backup. Okay, you see the file. So let's look at the PHP, the CLI version. And I like this one because it's, the commenting is nice, the coloring is nice. In this file, semicolons are the comments. So if I save it, I can save it now because I changed the permissions. So save it. And notice that a lot of these settings are already turned on. Some of them are commented out. A lot of them have some instructions, or they even give you a URL to go read more about each one of these settings. There's lots and lots and lots of these settings. There's a huge file. So I'm not going to go through all of them in exquisite detail, but I'm just going to do the specific ones here. And I'm going to mention just a couple of them. So I don't even know what expose PHP does, but let's see if we can find out. Control F, Control V. So basically, so does PHP hide itself, or does it not hide itself in the web server header? When you make a request, does the web server say, hey, this is Apache with PHP or just Apache? And it's silent that there's PHP there. That's one setting that apparently is turned on, but they would like us to turn it off. So we can. One recommendation here in a lot of these cases is to copy the line as is. To copy it, put it below, and turn it off. And then yes, and then go comment this one out. And so there's that one solution. Then you can go down, error. I'm not going to go through each one of these. I'll show you just a couple. Error reporting, Control F, Error reporting. Okay, yeah, so you can read this whole lecture here on error handling, decide what you need to do, but report all errors and warnings. So yes, we have all errors and warnings and deprecated stuff. So that's an additional feature. So yes, they want us to see all of them. So we already have that setting. On and on and on it goes. The two specific ones that they want us to change down here are, let's see, where are they? Yeah, once we change all of them, I'm not going to change all of them. You can. It's probably good to learn about each one specifically. But I'm going to change, where did it go? These two. Allow URL to on. I'm doing it a bit out of order here. We'll come back and create this file in just a minute here to test the changes. And we'll turn it on and off. But let's see where these settings are. Okay, so right now it allows us to open URL. So PHP can go out and open up a URL, which can be risky because if you open up a URL somewhere else, you don't know what file is over there. You don't know who manages that file. So if you allow PHP to go out and open open URLs as files, that's what this is saying, that can be risky. And at the same time, it says, do you want to allow PHP to include those files in the application itself that you're running? And so the recommendation for both of those is to keep them on for now and to see what happens, to have them on and off. So we're going to make them both, let's see, they're both off. We're just going to keep them off for now. So they're both off. Okay, we're going to save that file. And then we have to go restart the Apache, right, according to the documentation. Let's see, service Apache to restart. Okay, so now those two settings have taken effect. All right, and now we need to create this particular file here and run it. So here in the directory pwd /var/www/html, we're going to create a new file. I'm going to use vi because it's 3 lines of code, so I'm not going to worry about it. Vi include.php, and I'm just going to copy these 3 lines of code from here. Control C, Control V, and just in VI you can go to write the file. What is this? Quit escape. Why can I not do this? Because the current working directory is owned by root. So sudo own Kali /var/www/html. Okay, so now I can do the vi command. Okay, go into insert mode, copy this text, paste it in, escape, shift : right quit, boom, file is created. I can more include .php, and there it is. Okay, so now what it's basically saying is let's run it manually and see if we can run it. Okay, so can we run it? What do you think? Ta-da! So this is the code from remotefile.php, and it shows all this extra code that has been pulled in and gets run. That's what this line says. This line says include code from a remote location, from a different server. We don't know where this is coming from, but include it here and execute it here. Notice you're including a PHP file. Yeah, and it's also inside of PHP brackets, so it's definitely executable. Whatever gets included, it gets treated as if it was lines of code in this particular file, in this include.php. So that's because we have this turned to off. But you notice the problem here, right? That we turned this off in php.ini. We didn't turn it off here in this file, in the Apache version. So restarting it was essentially pointless. All right. Let's go see what is happening here. Okay, so let's see, what do I need to do here? Make the changes in this file as well. Is that what I need to do? Because clearly that should not be working. I should be getting this error, but I'm not getting this error. Right? Because it already says to turn them off. So I had them to turned off, but that's apparently not the right. So here it's also off. Let's restart Apache. Start. Okay, so now let's try to run that command. And I can still run it, so that kind of sucks. Because it's almost like this command, these two commands do not matter at all. So what could be wrong? Let's see, allow URL fopen, and you allow URL include. So let's see if this file exists somewhere else. Oh, look at that. It's defined to be true at the bottom of the file. That is my problem. So this is sequential, so I set it to off over there, but I set it to on over here, so I'm screwing myself. So I need to change it here. Okay, well, I discovered my own problem. So the same parameter was set twice in the file, and let's see if that's the case here too. Sure enough, it appears multiple times, and sure enough, at the bottom of the file, it's here too. All right, Daniel. Not sure how that got there, but this. Okay, so now, if we try to restart Apache again, okay, and let's look at the file, and ta-da! Okay, so we're getting a warning. So it's not suitable wrapper. So we are not able to pull the file in from remote, are we? Now the exercise is to go back and to show what happens if you turn it back on. And we already saw what happens if you turn it back on, but just for the sake of argument, let's do it. Do I even have to restart Apache? Let's see. Yeah, I don't have to restart Apache because this is the command line, so it doesn't really matter. But I only changed the one in the CLI directory anyways. I changed the one here as well. Then I would have to restart Apache, but the command line doesn't matter. Okay, so now that's the exercise. Basically, we have just been able to introduce vulnerability by allowing the configuration of PHP to not be very tightly controlled. So I actually want to look at this one here. There was one that was interesting. Maybe I'll show you this one just for fun. Where's the PHP info? So let's look for PHP info. Okay. Disable functions. Let's see if this is, where is this defined? This disable functions. Okay, so nothing is disabled right now. And here is, in this one, in the command line, disable function also, nothing is disabled. Okay, so we're gonna make a new file here, vi php data php config.php, right? And here we're gonna say question mark. Whoops. We're gonna say PHP, and we're going to put one simple command in here, PHP info. That's it, and close the bracket, right? And that's it. So we created a new file with PHP config.php, and we said just give me the PHP info. So let's run this file. So instead of include, we're going to write PHP config and see what happens. Do you see what happened? Do you see how much information I got? Without even a click, I got a ton of information. You didn't even see it jump by, but it just exploded by here. Right, there's a lot, and this is at the command line, but I could do the same thing if I go look at my browser now. I created a file, right, php config.php, and look at that. All of a sudden, one single command told me everything about the configuration of this particular server. And if there's no security on this file, right? It's a terrible file to leave out there. Maybe in debug or in development location you can have this, but here it's very, very scary to have it. It shows me how it's configured. It shows me all the different the IP address, internal IP address, which Apache version it is, what the path is on the inside of my server. And then it goes ahead and tells me what various settings are, how different functions are configured. And so if I have time and energy and I really want to penetrate the server, I can go find a vulnerability in one of these, like here, for example, MySQL. So I could find, oh, you're using MySQL, got it. Maybe there's a vulnerability there, and I can try to exploit it. So this PHP config, for example, should be disabled. If I go in this file here, where's the Apache 2 here, and I just say PHP info, and I save that file, and I restart Apache. Right, and I go back to the page here, and I literally refresh the page. I should get nothing. I get a server error because that command is no longer allowed. Does that make sense? So we just reduced the information that the public would get. So hopefully that helps. I know I talked a lot and I gave you a little bit of extra information, but this is part of hardening PHP, and the idea is to turn a lot of these, like for example, we run chmod, remove directory, make directory, all these things you don't want somebody to be doing from PHP. So that's it. Hope that helps.